What's up, guys? Shadow Rockstar here, doing another educational Star Realms game. I have not showered. I woke up and I told people I was going to take their challenges and make videos for them, and thought it would be fun. Turns out a lot of you took me way too seriously because I got a shitload of challenges and I have to make a shitload of videos. But I will freely admit I've had a blast making videos over the last couple of days or so. So I'm going to try to get these out as fast as I possibly can. What I'll probably end up doing is do like, 3 or 4 of them, take a break, do like 3 or 4 of them, take a break. We'll see. I promise I will get to everybody's games. It just might take me a little while. That being said, first game up is with Tyraziel here. And he was the first challenge. I'm going to try to go in order as well. And, enjoy yourself. I usually watch these maybe like once or twice and then do the video. So, my analysis is going to be as in-depth as I possibly can, but who knows? We all miss things. We're all trying to get better. So, remember, this is just one man's opinion. Okay. So, first things first, we got one trade. Immediately goes one trade and picks up Fed Shuttle. I hate to poop on somebody for their very first play, but as you'll see later on, Tyraziel here has 3 trade. And I have often said when you're playing vanilla, which is what we're doing, we're just playing core set, that you want to look at the cards that have the biggest number in the red circle and buy them. I think the best play here is to go Fed Shuttle, is to go either Imperial Frigate or go Fed Shuttle Battle Pod. Let's see, he might go Battle Pod though. Yeah, I misremembered this. So this is fine. It gives you a little trade. It gives you some damage and some trade row manipulation, which is great. That being said, I'm not a big fan of Fed Shuttle. I think it weighs down your deck far more often than it actually is beneficial. I don't mind this play because it does give you trade and give you, like I said, damage and scrap and stuff like that. So, like, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I love Imperial Frigate, and I think maybe that would have been a better play. But I'm okay with it. I think this is fine. And again, it's core set, so if you can pick up trade and damage, it's typically a good play. So this one is a little iffy. Like it's hard to kind of say which one is the best possible play here. Because remember, you're also giving me the chance to get Battle Pod, and maybe that's something you don't want to do. So it's worth thinking about. So he ends up getting Battle Pod, which is great. I've got 3 trade here. Best play here is probably Supply Bot. It gives you early scrap. It gives you early trade. I know I just talked about getting the damage and picking up Imperial Frigate, but I do think in this case, picking up that scrap is going to probably be the best move here. Remember, our opponent has a slight trade edge and a slight damage edge on us. So we have to figure out how we're going to win this game. Are we going to fight them on the damage front? Are we going to fight them on the trade front? Are we going to fight them on the defensive front? Or are we going to fight them on the scrap front? So I've made the decision to fight them on the scrap front. And I think keeping scrap away from our opponent is probably the best play here. That being said, in all likelihood, they're going to have less than 5 trade here because they started with 3 trade. And so, in all likelihood, our opponent's going to have is probably going to average out to about 4 trade. So, by us buying Supply Bot, we keep it away from them. And it also kind of limits what they're going to be able to buy here in the future. They'll be able to buy, they'll be able to buy everything else on the trade row. But they'll probably only be able to get one thing. So, I think that's the best play. And we are unfortunately limited by the fact that we have 3 trade here. I think if you had 4 trade, You could make the argument to go Freighter. You could make the argument to go Barter World. I kind of like the idea of Barter World over Freighter just because it would force our opponent to funnel the damage that he has into the Barter World as opposed to into our face. And in all likelihood, Barter Worlds might live for multiple turns, giving us a 2-turn advantage, where Freighter typically only gives you a 1-turn advantage. But it is 4 trade in 1 card, so yeah. But those are future considerations because we do not have 4 trade. So I think Supply Bot is probably the best play, especially given what our opponent has done. All right, seems good. And he picks up the frigate. He only has 3 trade. This is the fairly obvious good play here. Again, like I said, prioritizing damage in the vanilla set is really important. I could see maybe getting Blob Wheel. Like, that's not a bad play. Again, another one of those things where, like, early bases typically stay out on the battlefield for longer because it's hard for people to acquire enough damage to kill them initially. Um, so that's worth thinking about. But I like Frigate better here because there's no, like, the main point of getting Blob Wheel is to buy 3, put it into play, deal 1 damage, and then sack it to trade up to something better. But there's really nothing big out here. So in that case, getting a card like a Freighter or like a Blob Wheel is usually not as good because what the hell are you trying to buy with that trade, right? You don't want to acquire trade just for trade's sake. That's one of the reasons why I don't like the Federation Shuttle. It's just trade for trade's sake. It's a weighted card, meaning it doesn't draw, and it takes up a slot. It takes up a draw for you to get it. So I like Frigate here. I think Imperial Frigate is one of the best cards ever and might be the best 3-drop. It's definitely the best 3-drop in the core set. So good play. Smart move. I like it. Sorry, you can hear my breathing on the video. I should have muted myself when I was recording this video. Okay. Anyway, so I end up buying uh, the blob wheel here, and I think this speaks to a lot of the decisions I was thinking about before. Central office is out. I have something I can upgrade it into. Plus, it's a base. It'll probably sit around for a while. And I want him to sort of funnel his damage into me. And by buying Blob Wheel instead of Barter World, I can now make 2 purchases if I want to. Oh, and see, and I end up flipping a trade bot. So initially I was going to go Blob Wheel Trade Pod, which would have given me a total of 6 trade over 2 cards, as opposed to 4 trade or 2 trade over 1 card. So my thought process was to sort of maximize my trade to potentially get Central Office and try to win the game that way. But when you flip Trade Bot, you got to get the Scrapper, and this now gives me 2 Scrappers to his 0. So Scrap Edge is now officially mine. Now I know how I'm going to win the game. Once that card flips and I buy that, the decision has been made now on my end to make this a game that I win with scrap. And again, our opponent picks up Freighter here. I think this is actually a much better play than it was just before because now there's a 7 and an 8 drop that you want to go after. So I think that's fine. I think in general, Barter World is better than Freighter. But in this case, I kind of like it. It's a little tough because he's not cycling yet. So it's going to take him a while to actually realize the potential of Freighter. But given the cards that are out there, given his deck, given my deck, I think that's the right play. Now, here's a bit of an odd play. Some people might see this mech world and say, Ryan, what are you doing? Why are you scrapping? Why don't you want to get Barter World? Remember what my strategy is. My strategy here is to win by scrapping, is to get my scrap edge. So I need to take every opportunity I possibly can to scrap, even if that means foregoing a card that, in theory, is better than Barter World. I would also argue that Mech World is a vastly overrated card. If you're building your deck correctly, you should be allying anyway, which takes away a lot of the value of Mech World. So I get to pick up Barter World here, which is great. Like I said, I love this card. I want him to funnel damage into my bases, not into my face. And what this does is it extends the game, which gives me a chance to realize my scrap advantage. Right? The longer the game goes, the more opportunities you have to scrap, which gives you more opportunities to have a really efficient deck, which then gives you more opportunities to utilize said efficient deck. And he scraps out Mech World, which I don't really like that play. I think he should have scrapped out the Royal Readout. This card is much more dangerous to him than Mech World is. See, and now he's picking up Trade Pod, which I think is fine because now there's a 6, 7, and an 8 drop out there. His decision-making process, at least from my side, seems to be, okay, I'm going to get enough trade, I'm going to get some big 8 drops, I'm going to get an 8 drop, 7 drop, and I'm going to use that card to win the game. And I think that's fine. I think that's a sound sound thought process on his part. So you bet your sweet ass I'm not passing up freaking Royal Readout, man. So again, right? Acquiring bases, protecting my face, giving me time to scrap. That's the plan. Yeah, I like this play too. He realizes now I'm starting to go base. This combos yellow. This gives him 4 extra trade. Again, he is shooting for Blob World Central Office. And I think this is totally fine. It's a good play. And I'm kind of thinking the same thing at this point. I don't like this buy trade pod, to be honest with you. I think I'd rather let him have it. Just give him all the trade. Who cares? You know, I think I would have been better served by buying something else. Maybe buying Trading Post first. Because now I see it's good because I get Battle Pod, but I think if I bought Trading Post first, I would have been happier with that and picked up Battle Pod afterwards. So I don't know. Trade Pod is another one of those cards that is really good in the early game, but like drops in value as the game goes on. So here's an interesting play. He's got 4, 5, 6, 7 trade, but doesn't pick up Central Office. I kind of thought the whole point of his game plan was to get a big card and win the game with those big cards. Plus, with Freighter, you can combo it with Central Office and top deck a card. So, I think this is probably the first pretty clear mistake here. I think this is an error. But Ram is a really good card. I'm not quite sure what the thought process here is. Maybe he's just like, all right, you know what? My opponent is... I need to kill him, which is fine too. I mean, I'm never really going to complain about you getting more damage, but I do think getting Central Office here was the better play. Buying Survey Ship is fine, is good too. I like Survey Ship. Yeah, Survey Ship is definitely the best card out of there, and it gives him card draw. Card draw is always great. Yep. And so I just, I picked up another base. Again, trying to protect my face. My plan is here. Get bases, get healing, scrap down really hard, kill him in 2 turns. That's the plan. Yep, yeah. So he's just trying to acquire damage here. I think this is actually a good idea. He's a little bit ahead on life total. He sees me acquiring bases. You're gonna need damage to get through those bases. I'm perfectly fine with this play. Yep. Scrap out the scrapper. Good. Good. Save the big cards for himself to buy. Yeah, yeah, I like this. I like these decisions here. Yep, buy yourself a scrapper. These are all good decisions. Yeah, the only problem is, look, his deck is kind of bloated now relative to mine. And that's the tough part when you don't get the scrappers. So I scrap out Junkyard, not because I think it's the best card out there, but because I'm trying to control the scrap. I'm trying to keep scrap away from him and further my game plan of keeping scrap going. And then I flip, oh god, the sexy War World. That's freaking great. Oh, I even forego the healing. Yep. See, and then this is tough because they're all bases out here. So even though he's top decking his ship, it's not like a impactful ship, and that's why I think Freighter again is a little overrated. Yep. This was a bit of an odd play, but it is 5 damage on a base, so I think it's all right. What else is he gonna buy? Yeah, and he keeps the frigate too. I think that's all right too. Like I said, his life total is pretty safe at this point, so I'm digging a lot of these plays right now. So here's an odd one. Why didn't I buy Central Office? You might be asking. I actually wanted to prioritize damage and healing, and this card does neither of those things. So this might be a mistake. I'll be honest, but he hasn't really shown a desire to pick up Central Office too. So I felt kind of safe leaving it out there, just knowing that he probably wouldn't pick it up anyway. He doesn't seem to value that as a card. And again, I wanted to prioritize extra damage or extra healing if I needed to. And the outpost face protection, I think, is really important. And then I forego getting the trade pot because it's not helping my deck. Oh, nice combo. Look at this. Let's back that up just a little bit here so we can see what the hell happened. Yeah. Oh, wow. So 2 trade. He scraps this. He has 6 trade. Yeah, no, doesn't want anything here. This is great. Oh, maybe he could scrap this, try to get Central Office or Blob World. But then he'd be scrapping everything. I think this is a much better play. Just keep it up. You've got 3 excellent yellow cards here. And then he just dumps frickin' 12 damage to my face. Yeah, good play. Good play. Again, I do think Central Office is a very good card, but I think both of us are assessing it correctly in a sense that it's a little overcosted. It oftentimes does not win you the game in and of itself. But here we get really lucky. We get to heal up, put all our bases up, protect our face. This is the plan, right? And then our opponent gets really unlucky. This is unfortunate. He had a lot of damage cards sitting in those 5 cards, and he didn't draw any of them. And he can only kill off 1 base. And then I think he misclicks here and kills the wrong base. He should have killed War World. But he might have been thinking, my life total is safe, and I need to kill off the bases that let him heal and let him protect his face. Like, he was trying to go for the kill here. So I'm kind of okay with it, but I do think killing War World is the better play. Yep, scrap, scrap, scrap. And I scrap Central Office. That's probably a mistake, too. I think I should have scrapped Blob World. This is the much more dangerous card for me. So, yeah. Oops. That's definitely a whoops. Especially, too, since I could have bought it. And here's another odd play. At least it might seem odd. I end up getting Trade Escort. And the reason I bought it, though, over Blob World, it's that healing and that draw and that damage. I think that's actually going to help me over Blob World. Because, again, I've got a couple of blobs, but I don't necessarily think Blob World is going to be that good for me. So, and my life total is, fairly low. Again, I'm trying to extend the game as much as possible and scrap down. So, I do think this is actually the better play. But percentage-wise, I think it's very close. And you could absolutely make an argument here for getting Blob World. Yep. Oh, no, what the hell happened? Sorry, guys. Thought I put my phone on silent. Okay, there you go. Scrap Central Office. Yep, yep. There you go. Blob Fighter. Yep, yep, yep. We want a combo here with the draws and stuff. Although it's odd. If I'm betting Blob Fighter, I should just buy Blob World. But again, I want the healing in the card draw. Yeah, and look, this game is turning around now. So now he scraps Blob World. Huh. Interesting. Cause he could he have bought it? Let's find out. Oh yeah, he could have bought it. I think this is another mistake. He's got blobs. He should have scrapped the RAM and bought Blob World himself. 3, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. This is a fairly clear mistake. And he's about to cycle too. Yeah. Because he would have kept it away from me, and then he would have added it to himself. So, yeah, sorry, Tyraziel. I think that is a pretty clear mistake. I like buying this now. Like, once you've made the mistake, there's nothing you could do. But buying this is pretty good. It keeps it away from me. It heals you up. You know, he's got to start worrying about his life total too. So, and again, I take every opportunity to scrap. I'm not really looking to buy anything. All right. And I actually heal up here. I'm more worried about my life total than I'm worried about his life total. Again, I'm all about defense and pushing the game as far as I can possible into the future. So healing up and prioritizing protection is more important to me than trying to kill him, at least right now. I'm definitely going to try to kill him at a later date. And then, oh my goodness, here's another way he gets a little unlucky. Look at this. He can't even kill Raw Readout here, which gives me just enough damage to kill his Raw Readout. And I buy Stealth Needle because Stealth Needle's great, but I may never even get to that as a card. Boom. Yeah. See, this is not helping. This is bloating your deck. Yep. Got to do it now. Yep. Got to do it. Got to push for that win. Yeah. Trying to keep that away. I think this is... Oh, God. Look at this turn. Healing. Boom! Oh, Lord. And then just, one of those turns, man. And a gentleman's exact victory. Okay. Wow. Bit of a long video. Thanks for sitting through this with me, guys. Scrap. Goddamn. Yeah, wins games. Especially in vanilla. I mean, it was pretty clear, My draws got progressively better than his draws. And if you have 1 or 2 turns, and I'm not even calling them like mistakes. They're not mistakes. You just get 2 bad draws. That's enough. That's enough to put you under. And he made a few mistakes in terms of like what to buy. But, I got lucky in a sense that I was able to get scrap. I got lucky in a sense that I was able to formulate a plan quicker, and the cards that were given to me were allowed me to enact that plan. Because sometimes you're like, all right, I bought a few cards. Here's my plan. I'm gonna be a blob deck, and then there's no more blobs, and you're like, well, shit, I can't be a blob deck anymore. You have an intention for a deck, but sometimes the trader just doesn't give it to you. And I think that was kind of the problem, is his intention seemed to be, let's get big trade and try to win with big cards, which is a very sound strategy. The hard part is, though, is he's up against a scrap deck. And when you play a big card strategy, you're often playing a long game strategy. I'm also playing a long game strategy, but I have scrappers. So what that ends up meaning is my deck becomes more efficient than his over time, and is probably going to win. So I like the game plan in theory, but it is tough because it doesn't counter the game plan that I was playing. So props to Tyraziel. I think for the most part some good plays were made. It's just tough, And the thing is, and this is the other sort of drawback of playing vanilla, it's hard to come back. You know, it's hard to make up for bad luck in the early game when you play vanilla. And that's why I highly encourage people to just buy all the sets. Like, you buy all the sets, it's like, I think $50 if you buy everything. You know, that's the cost of one video game. But when you play a game like this, you're going to get way more entertainment out of it. It's totally worth it. Um, so, that being said, you know, I don't think Tyraziel played poorly. I just think, you know, a couple of mistakes did him in. A couple, you know, and this is the thing: one or two mistakes, one or two bad one or two bad draws. That's it. That's enough to sink. That's enough to sink you. You know. So what I would say is have a plan earlier. Tighten up your strategies. Maybe don't focus on trade so much, especially when playing a format like vanilla. You know, try to focus a little more on damage and stuff. So yeah, that's the video. Thanks, guys. Hope you liked it. Appreciate it. I'll see you.